July 7th, 2005. Morning rush hour in London. Millions of people were heading out the door, swiping transit cards, checking their phones, and grabbing coffee. The city's massive transport network was fully in motion. Then, at exactly 8:50 a.m., that motion stopped. Deep underground, passengers were thrown to the floor. The lights cut out. Carriages filled with thick smoke, and the only sounds were screams echoing in complete darkness. Within seconds of each other, 3 separate explosions ripped through trains near Aldgate, Edgware Road, and Russell Square. Striking these 3 specific arteries simultaneously was calculated. It severed the core circulatory system of the London Underground, trapping thousands of commuters. Above ground, no one understood what was happening. Deep in the tunnels, communication links were severed. Initial reports reaching surface-level officials pointed to a massive electrical failure, a power surge across the lines. The immense scale and complexity of London's transit system had essentially masked a coordinated strike. The city's own infrastructure had turned into an information vacuum, blinding authorities to the reality of the threat. Almost an hour passed in this state of confusion. Then came 9:47 a.m. A 4th explosion detonated. This time it was above ground. A double-decker bus navigating Tavistock Square was torn apart in seconds. This blast was highly visible and undeniably deliberate. The power surge theory evaporated immediately. London was under an active, coordinated attack. The entire transport grid was ordered to shut down, freezing the city in place as police, firefighters, and paramedics rushed to massive bottlenecks at the station entrances. A secondary crisis quickly followed. Millions of panicked residents tried to call their families, but the mobile networks overloaded. The city was physically paralyzed and digitally silenced. In less than an hour, the crisis evolved from a technical glitch into a total urban lockdown, driven by an invisible enemy. With the immediate threat seemingly over, authorities faced a monumental task: launching a counter-terrorism investigation inside a city ground to an absolute halt. To figure out who did this, investigators had to piece together millions of scattered data points to build a second-by-second timeline of the morning. They pulled feeds from thousands of security cameras, cross-referenced ticket gates, and analyzed chemical residues from the blast sites. Gradually, those isolated data points linked up. They formed 4 clear travel paths, all converging on the exact locations of the detonations. This digital reconstruction revealed the perpetrators, 4 young men carrying explosive-laden backpacks. But the most shocking piece of intelligence was their origin. These weren't foreign operatives smuggled into the country. They were British citizens. Because they lived and grew up in the UK, they blended seamlessly into the morning commute. They bypassed every traditional border checkpoint and national security tripwire. The mechanics of the bombs were simple, but their ordinary profiles forced a shift in strategy. Security focus moved from the borders to the neighborhoods where the attackers lived. By the end of the day, 52 people had been killed, and hundreds more were suffering from life-altering injuries. The shockwaves of those coordinated blasts didn't stop at London's city limits. They triggered a severe, immediate overhaul of security protocols across Europe and the rest of the world. Governments rapidly expanded their surveillance laws. Public transport systems, once entirely open, were suddenly patrolled by heavily armed police, making submachine guns a routine sight in major transit hubs. Yet, while the state responded by hardening its defenses, the people of London responded differently. In the immediate aftermath, strangers carried the wounded out of the smoke. Commuters calmly walked miles along the train tracks to safety. In the days that followed, the city simply went back to work, collectively refusing to let terror dictate their routines. Today, those 52 lives are remembered in steel, but the tension born on that July morning remains. How does an open society maintain its freedom while trying to predict a threat that lives right next door? The 7/7 tax forced governments to build complex security fortresses around everyday life. Ultimately, though, the strongest defense a city has against terror isn't found in a surveillance camera, but in the unbroken spirit of the people